don't watch this. That is the title card for today. And today is Friday the 13th. So do you want to watch this on Friday the 13th? Well, that's up to you. Are you superstitious or are you not? I just say it's Friday the 13th. Just another Friday, gloomy day. But is it a gloomy day in the BC Legislature? Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about advocacy. We're going to talk about a lot of different things that impact people's lives, lived experience stories. That's what we talk about today on the PWD Allies podcast. So thanks for joining in.
PWD Allies, the best disability podcast in Canada. Starring your host, Brent Frain. And as always, his producer and editor, Neil Matheson.
Now, there's so many people across our beautiful country living in legislated poverty. 1.5 million disabled Canadians live in deep legislated poverty across Canada. Unacceptable. And we live in such a wealthy country that people should be taken care of. I mean, it's not difficult to tax the ultra rich to take care of our most vulnerable. As politicians will always say, take care of our most vulnerable. I mean, I just say take care of our citizens, really. Seniors living in deep legislated poverty. People with disabilities live in deep legislated poverty for many years too. And people on low income. I know we talk a lot about people with disabilities on the show, and politicians love to spin it out and talk about seniors, and rightfully so, right? I mean, because seniors, who have disabilities as they get older, it doesn't go away. You're born with disabilities. It doesn't change. It doesn't change who you are. It just changes your age as you get older and you develop more disabilities. No fault of your own. Anybody can become disabled, but everyone will become as a senior too. So I need to try to help and not criticize on any political party. But I think we need to be all on the same page and just accept that every citizen needs to be treated equally when it comes to the talking points of legislative poverty. If you're a senior, people with disabilities, low income, we're just citizens. We need to be treated with dignity and respect. And so what I'm saying is that when your scripts, when you have them out, it's really helpful if you can really try to use your narrative and say, people with disabilities are same as deeply impacted with political decisions that are made on the provincial levels. Doesn't matter what province you're in. We're in British Columbia. Neil and I are in British Columbia, so we talk a lot about what's going on in British Columbia. Not that we don't talk about other provinces, because it's so important that we talk about these things that impact people's lives on a day-to-day basis.
We talk about what we know, and we know BC best. That's why we tend to talk about BC, because that's
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so when I hear some of the politicians, they'll get up and they'll say things that within our BC budget, just for instance, that just came out on February 17th. I noticed that a lot of the conservative BC Conservative Party or any members in general, they'll talk about seniors living in poverty, and they'll talk about the new PST tax that's going to come into effect on home phone and cable as of October 1st, and the impact that it's going to have on seniors. They say that use yarn. People with disabilities. Same thing. Like there's no difference on. A person with disabilities, or it can be seniors too, right? So I just say seniors, people with disabilities, everybody that is impacted on low income are going to be hurt really bad.
Yeah. They basically targeted the lowest income bracket is what they did.
Yes, they did. And it's really unacceptable that a government can spend, over $6 billion surplus, right? And and then soak into almost $13.2 billion. I mean, minimum, that number is going to go higher into a negative, into a deficit. So like almost $20 billion and no increase in the BC budget for persons with disabilities. They say, we changed the spousal cap to make it better for people with disabilities. So now when they're cohabitating with each other, but instead of giving 2 shelters, they say $6.95. So now
it's another pink unicorn.
Yeah, there's one right behind me here. But they say, but look what we did, though. We changed it.
Well, again, the reason why I titled it "Don't Watch This" is it's tongue in cheek, right? Because like you and I both, we watched the legislative sessions, because they record them, right? So that people can watch them, public can watch them. You actually just attended the last one. I actually had to watch. I watched on video live, but you got to attend it in person.
I did. That was a long walk. From where I live, I mean, it's a good full about 35-minute walk. About that 40-minute walk. And it was raining out yesterday. It was but it didn't start. It wasn't pouring out. It was just a little sprinkle, but it was a long walk. People say, well, why would you walk all the way down? Well, when you opt out of the bus pass, you have no choice. You have to walk. It's like food versus bus pass. So Sonia was struggling along. She's really been having a hard time trying to navigating with her sugar levels for her diabetes, try to regulate them right, and so any excessive walking will actually give her a sugar low. And of course, then you've got to have supplies on to boost up your numbers back up. But we made it down. So long story short, we watched the question period at the BC Legislature yesterday on Thursday, March the 12th. It's always entertaining there, and there's never a dull moment when it comes to watching the question period.
Well, and just before you go and talk about what happened the other day, I just wanted to go back a couple of days. I want to do a screen share right now. This is from a couple of days ago. I'm trying to. This is from March 10th. So 3 days ago. David Eby himself posted this, or I should say his PR team, I guess, that handles his Twitter account. He posted. BC...
How many of his PR team though? I mean, he's got so many different ones.
Yeah, I know. Like maybe actually. The person that writes jokes for him.
I was just going to say,
Maybe the person that writes jokes for him wrote this one because it is a joke. I mean, I've got it up on screen here now. It says, Eby has his tweet says this: BC's economy is growing exponentially.
Oh, whoa!
and that would not be possible without First Nations coming to the table with us. So that's the first line, and then the second line is, I'm appalled to see the level of misinformation being spread by the Conservatives. Our success lies in the work we do together. So let's deal with the first line first. He says, our economy is growing exponentially. Now, obviously, David Eby does not know what the word exponential means. Because exponential means it's growing by exponent. And if it's growing by exponent, it means it's either doubling or tripling in size.
Wow.
And our economy is not doubling or tripling in size.
Is the sky green and the grass is blue?
So you can see down here, people can read down here. I tweeted back saying BC's economy is growing exponentially, and I put somebody rolling on the floor laughing, the emoji there.
Yeah.
And then I said, David Eby clearly does not know what exponential means. Is David Eby smarter than a fifth grader? Apparently not. You know that show, Am I Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah.
Well, obviously David Eby is not smarter than a fifth grader because he doesn't know what exponential is. So let's deal with the second part of his tweet now, and it says, I'm appalled to see the level of information being spread by the Conservatives. Now, remember, Brent, we were last convened here last Friday, And remember, our focus was the fact that it was David Eby that was spreading lies and misinformation, right? He was the one. Remember,
Oh yes.
it was like he showed up at that school, and everybody, all the kids were dancing
All the
around,
children
and he had
were
this he had this whole smoke screen of like, let's change our clocks to permanent daylight savings time. And then when he was asked at the school, he was asked by the press people that were there, can you please tell us about the Musqueam deal that was just announced? And he said, I have no line of sight on this agreement. No line of sight. There. So that was his first lie. So he told that to the press, and then he went to the legislature and he repeated the same lie.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it turned out that not only was he invited, he was photographed in the front row of the signing ceremony. So when he said he had no line of sight, not only did he have no line of sight, he was there to sign the agreement.
And then he said he didn't know anything about the agreement.
2 or 3 weeks previous, he was there
2 weeks
at the signing ceremony to witness it. And he said, originally he said, I had no line of sight. But then he doubled down and he said, I had no knowledge of what was in the agreement. And then he says, then he says, no one was briefed. Nobody was briefed about this agreement with the federal government.
Nobody was briefed.
And then we find out from the federal government itself saying, yes, the federal government did brief the provincial government. So, I mean, it's lie upon lie upon lie.
Well, the federal government says he was briefed. Meanwhile, he says he wasn't briefed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's there.
So David Eby says he's appalled. He's appalled at the level of misinformation and lies being spread by the BC Conservatives when he is the one, Brent. He is the one. Again, like
he was sitting in the front row.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said on that one podcast, he's sitting in the front row. I mean, was he not? Did he just tune out what was going on? Did he not hear what the whole speech was about? I mean, the ceremony. Yeah. Wow.
One thing I have to say, Brent, is like whenever again, we're kind of talking about Indigenous reconciliation, right? And honestly, like whenever I talk about anything like this, or whenever you talk about any kind, like, okay, I'm going to state the obvious here, okay? I'm a white man. And I mean, I think if we state the obvious, we can say that you're a white man too, right?
Right.
And so, I don't often wade into racial arguments.
No, me neither.
Because I know I'm a white man, and so why would I give voice and narrative on like what it means to be a black man,
right,
or something like that when I have no idea what it means to be a black man? So why would I do that? Why would I enforce a narrative on something that I have no idea of, right? And similarly, why would I be all aggressive about knowing everything there is to know about Indigenous reconciliation when I'm a white man?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I was one of my neighbors is one's from Ukraine and really nice person, and one of them is from where is it? Kenya. And so I couldn't, the same thing, like I couldn't relate to how they were brought up. I mean, nice people and all, but I'm not judgmental when it comes to any particular race or person or
it's just like when we talk about disability, like you and I know about disability because we've grown up with disabilities.
Right.
So it's like when we see somebody that's not disabled, tell us what it's like to be disabled. And when an able-bodied person stands up and says, "I know what it's like to be disabled," when you know that they don't. I mean, it's the same thing. Whether you're talking about race or whether you're talking about whether you're having a disability or not, Like,
Yeah.
let's
Or-
all stay in our lanes. And the
Yeah.
reason-
Well, here's another example. It's like somebody having my same condition. Well, I mean, I have different disabilities also. Like there's also more than just my visual acuity. But it's like somebody having the same condition as me, but to a different degree of saying, well, I have the same disability as you, but mine's worse than yours, or yours is worse than mine. It's like that competition back and forth. It's like you have a disability, okay?
Yeah.
Like there's no competition on which disability is worse than the other disability. I mean, you learn to work with it
Right.
the best way you can, because that's just lived experience. That's who you are, and
But
yeah.
anyway, the reason why we're focusing on the racial card right now is because this whole Indigenous reconciliation thing has grown into this racial hatred thing.
Oh,
and,
I know.
And so I just want to point to somebody that does know about Indigenous reconciliation is líya Warbus.
Okay,
líya
yeah.
Warbus. She is an MLA for the BC Conservatives.
Yeah, she's in Chilliwack, isn't she?
She's Chilliwack, I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
Chilliwack and Cultus Lake.
Yeah, I was just
Chilliwack,
gonna say.
Cultus Lake. She's
Yeah.
a member of the Stolo Nation, and so she's an Indigenous person, and she is against. She has actually voiced her opposition against all of this, the UNDRIP, or the
Right.
the DRIPA. Like
Yeah, okay.
she's voiced opposition to it because she says that it weakens government. It weakens the position of government.
Okay.
Right? And it's true, it does. And so that's her main opposition to it. She does believe that reconciliation is important. She thinks that it is necessary. And I've been on record saying it is necessary. You've been on record saying it is necessary. We have to say, I think it was over a month ago now that, I tweeted something that I think I said something like, I think that David Eby is making a mess of Indigenous reconciliation. I said something to that effect, and then a so-called friend of the podcast, I won't say who this was, but a so-called friend of the podcast lashed out at me and tweeted at me that I was a racist. I was a racist because I disagreed with the mess of DRIPA. So if you're going to call me a racist, what do you call líya Warbus? If líya Warbus herself is Indigenous and líya Warbus herself is saying that DRIPA is a mess, DRIPA is a mess, and the one that made DRIPA a mess, let's point the finger, Brent. The one that made DRIPA a mess is who? The one that made DRIPA a mess is David Eby. David Eby, the I still have the tweet up. I should actually go back to full screen now. I realize that I'm keeping everything on the tweet here. So let's go back to full screen here. But yeah, so you have líya Warbus. She herself is very oppositional against DRIPA, saying the reason she's against it is it erodes government's ability to act democratically, and that's my big thing. Is like there another thing I wanted to mention. This is gonna sound a bit silly, but there's remember Mr. Rogers when we were kids.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I loved that show, and as a kid, and remember he would have the word of the day.
Oh yeah.
The word of the day. Well, I'm gonna say two words of the day today, Brent. Two words of the day. The first one being democracy. The second word of the day being sovereignty. Democracy and sovereignty.
Okay, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Today the word
So,
is
yeah. So, what is democracy? Let's start with democracy, Brent. What is democracy?
well, democracy. Well, that's such a powerful word. Such a powerful word.
The way I would describe democracy is when everybody has a voice. You have voters. You have voters that are given the privilege and the right to vote, so that they are given a voice on who they elect as government, and how our government is going to represent.
Supposedly, anyway.
Supposedly, right?
Yeah.
How the government is going to represent all citizens. The emphasis on all citizens, right?
Yeah.
And so the problem with DRIPA is it's handing over power to smaller groups of First Nations, like in the last in this last agreement with the Musqueam Nation. That's a band of 1,400 members, and they now have control over basically the entire lower mainland. Like in theory, right? Because that's their claim.
It's a huge area.
They have a land claim on there. They have the kind of an access to water claim. They have an access to fishery, like a fisheries rights claim there as well. And so you're basically handing control over to the entire lower mainland, a place that has over 2 million people in it. And you're saying, okay, 1,400 people, and actually it's not even 1,400 people. It's like a chief. It's one chief gets to decide the fate of 2 million people now that live in the lower mainland. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, and so where's the democracy now, Brent?
Yeah, well, see,
where's the democracy now? Like, because like you and I, if we cast our vote, we cast our vote to MLAs. We didn't cast our vote to an Indigenous leader.
Yeah, well, the problem is that like some of the reporters and they were asking the federal government, like what was signed here, and nobody could seem to get the information. It was signed behind closed door kind of deal, I guess. But no reporters were able to get a hold of this information. And it just seemed to kind of coincide with what was going on in BC with all the other stuff going on there. That all of a sudden the federal government signs off on all this other stuff, and I don't know, like, what did they sign off on? I mean, that is the big question. What was actually in the full agreement?
Well, nobody really knows still.
Well, that's what I mean, and it was all quietly done.
Yeah, and my issue again, though, Brent, is that it's become such a mess now.
Yeah.
Like now, when you watch the BC Legislative sessions, you have, it's mostly, I have to say, it's like the tweet I just had up for way too long, and I apologize for that. I had the tweet up way too long, but you have David Eby saying he's appalled by the level of misinformation and lies coming from the BC Conservatives, when actually David Eby. This is going back like quite a few months ago now, but I remember watching a legislative session, and David Eby literally said the word racist like at least 6 times in one legislative session. He said the word racist. He was pointing his finger at the BC Conservative side and saying, "You guys are all racist over there. On this side of the house, we're not racist. On this side of the house, we're not racist, but you over there are racist."
I remember sitting up in the gallery and listening to that too live when Sonia and myself, we were there live in person watching question period. And my observation is it just seems like a lot of deflection away from, like lately, kind of give our audience an overview and some of the MLAs who watch our show on a regular basis, MPs, MPPs, any political correspondent reporters watch our show. And I'll give you an overview of what I see, my observation, in my own opinion, my observation of what's going on in the BC Legislature, watching question period. I'm going there to listen for, educational, to be informed of what's going on in my province, how it affects British Columbians on a day-to-day basis. What is the government going to do to help make life better for British Columbians, more affordable? I know you can't make everybody happy, and I get that. You can't make everybody happy, but what you can do, you can make a basic standard of living, a basic standard.
Yeah.
If you fall below that basic standard of living on your goods and services, anything that you need, fundamentally, there should be a basic standard. But what I'm observing is that the government's deflecting it away from responsibility of taking care of their citizens. They're using, a lot of the Indigenous stuff that's going on is a deflection. Yeah. Time change, bringing a bunch of children in from an elementary school. When I heard this special announcement, I thought right away, I said to Sonia, I wonder what the special announcement is. She goes, yeah, I wonder. I go, it wouldn't be about raising disability rates, because the rates were, not changed since 2019. Oh, no, they wouldn't do that.
Well, sorry to keep interrupting you, Brent, but the other stupid thing that just happened just the other day, MLA Gavin Dew. Gavin Dew. He's also a BC conservative, and what did David Eby do just yesterday in the legislature? He stood up and he basically publicly embarrassed Gavin Dew because David Eby wants to be the fashion police. He wants to be the fashion police, and he said that Gavin Dew, how dare he not show up in a shirt and tie? Well, then we find out the reason why he did not show up in a shirt and tie is because why, Brent? You know the story, right?
Well, yeah. Gavin Dew, he's the representative, the MLA for Kelowna. He's up in Kelowna there, and
we have to say he's the nice. Like, if there was an award, like, I don't really even know the guy too much, but from what I've seen of the guy, just on TV watching him, like, you can tell, like, if there was an award for the nicest MLA in the whole house, the nicest MLA, like, his name would probably be up there, right? Probably number one. Honestly, probably number one. And like I said, David Eby has the gall, because he wants to be an idiot, an asshole idiot. He has the gall to call out Gavin Dew, probably the nicest MLA in the whole house. He's going to call him on their carpet. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break.
The reason what's going on is there was a snowstorm.
This is why Gavin Dew didn't show up in a shirt and tie. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a Pacific frontal system that was roaring through British Columbia, and it hit a lot of regions, including even Victoria here on the island where Sonia and myself are. We got a little brush off. Winter didn't come when it was supposed to. Like, we didn't get not even one flake of snow over the technically meteorological winter. Not even one snowflake. People back east are like, what? Yeah, seriously. Victoria usually gets something, not a lot. Yeah. Well, there's some years we got a lot, but anyway, Kelowna, they got walloped with this system. Yeah. It came through and it dropped a lot of snow. So Gavin Dew, the member of the opposition party, BC Conservatives, he got stuck.
I think he was actually. I think he was originally coming from. He was originally coming from Calgary.
He actually made his way to Calgary, and he got
stuck. Calgary. Okay.
Yeah, and he got stuck in Calgary due to. There was a windstorm in Victoria. Like, we had wild winds. All the way from Victoria, we got hammered pretty good with the winds here.
And then he couldn't get his luggage. He lost his luggage or something, right? His luggage got misplaced.
So he had to get his luggage eventually. Anyway, it had all his shirt and tie and his suit that he has to wear. But he had to go to a meeting and he had a vote that he had to vote
Like
for.
he had to rush to a vote, but we have to say, like it was a time sensitive.
Literally.
He literally was running to get to a vote on time to vote.
Yes, in the BC
Like
Legislature.
time was of the essence, right? Time was of the essence. He had to show up to a vote.
Yeah, so he wasn't prepared, with wearing the right attire, which I totally understand and appreciate that. Under the circumstances, I mean, that's like me saying, I'm live on doing the show here. My hair is standing on end because I didn't have time. Say the press were right there. I didn't have time to comb my hair. Looks like you just got out of bed. Like, what the hell is going on with you, Brett? Oh, I didn't have time. Sorry. I mean, really, there's other things in life to worry about.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is nothing against David Eby to you directly, sir, but seriously,
well, to me, it is a. I don't mind launching salvos at David Eby because he honestly deserves it. I mean, that's just,
I know what you mean.
Classless. It's just classless what he did. Totally classless.
But when I'm sitting here live watching this, and first thing I thought was, and you're not allowed to point fingers. You're not allowed to use hand gestures in the legislature when you're watching from the gallery. No facial expressions. You're only allowed to wave when you are acknowledged or you're greeted with a comment from a member statement. When they're greeting some of their guests, or if a member of the Legislative Assembly, either side, or any members of whatever party, if they wave at you, yes, you can acknowledge. But I wish I could have pointed my finger when he said that, because I was listening to that live and I was trying to bite my lip. I thought, wow, it
really is shameful. Honestly, it is shameful.
Because there's so many important things that need to be talked about in the question period. And that's what question period is questions and answers. And I thought, wow, like, seriously? Like,
and so you have people like David Eby. And we have to say, basically, the whole of the BC NDP Caucus, the entire BC NDP Caucus, somehow they think they all hold this staff of righteousness that we on this side of the house. They always say, we on this side of the house, we're the ones that hold the truth and righteousness. They on that side of the, it's always like, we on this side of the house, we're the ones that are standing up for kids, and we're standing up for senior citizens, or we're standing up for, we on this side of the house,
we're on this side of the house. We're the only party that's actually raised the rates. The other party, they basically kept the rates frozen for over 10 years.
It's why can't they be honest? And I guess, like, I didn't want to go here, Brent, but I'm going to go here anyway. And maybe that's why I titled the podcast, like, don't watch this.
Don't watch this, because
people are now going to get offended. But we also have to say, this is almost actually it's a little bit over the 1 month anniversary. It's like 1 month and 3 days or something like that anniversary of Tumbler Ridge tragedy, right? It's 1 month. It's been 1 month and 3 days since the Tumbler Ridge tragedy. And I just have to say, initially, I was okay with what David Eby did in response. Like, he did a fairly good job. I'm going to throw him a bouquet and say, he did a pretty good job of, representing, because he did. I mean, I'll grant him that. But the problem I have now is, now you see him all too willing to basically put it all on the lap of open AI. Right? He's saying, well, it was all open AI's fault, right? It's all open AI's fault, and why did the RCMP give back the guns? And both of those things are true. That is true. Like, why did the RCMP give back the guns? That's
I mean, then that's kind of the question. I still kind of wonder, like, why would they give back the guns? But
you can blame the RCMP for giving back guns. That's true. And you can blame OpenAI for not tagging
the authorities,
or not flagging the authorities. Or that's all true.
But
you can also blame radical government policy for, like I said on the podcast that we did all about Tumbler Ridge, that was about a month ago,
right?
When we talked about that this BC government, led by the BC NDP, doesn't respect kids in the sense that they don't allow kids to be kids. Like I said on that first podcast a month ago, I said, like, you and I grew up in dirt piles and sandboxes. We played in dirt piles and sandboxes. We were allowed to be kids all the way up until I can safely say, Brent, I was allowed to stay a kid right up until the day I turned 18. I was still a kid right up until the day I turned 18. What's happening to kids now? Our government is telling kids that, you know what? You grew up in the wrong body. You grew up in the wrong body. God made a mistake. That's what this whole SOGI thing is. They're saying God made a mistake. You grew up in the wrong body. You should change your body by either surgery or by hormones because you grew up in the wrong body. You know, and you know what? There's going to be a public inquiry. There hasn't been yet, and it's been over a month. There hasn't been a public inquiry. And you know what? I'm going to be very disappointed. I'm going to be very disappointed if the government does an inquiry and they don't address the fact that kids today aren't allowed to be kids because our government is saying that kids aren't allowed to be kids. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones that are pushing the narrative that kids aren't allowed to be kids anymore. That they have to grow up thinking, well, I grew up in the wrong body. It's important that kids know on this end of the house, Brent, if I'm gonna pretend that I'm a BC NDP and an MLA right now,
yeah.
I'm gonna pretend that I'm David Eby right now. I'm gonna do my David Eby impression right now. I'm gonna say, on this end of the house, Brent, on this end of the house, we believe that kids grow up in the wrong body. We believe that God makes mistakes. We believe that God doesn't know what he's doing. We believe when God decides that you were a boy, Brent, and I was a boy, that God made a mistake. God doesn't know what he's doing. God made a mistake. Like, you know, like, how stupid is that, Brent? How stupid it is to say, like, I don't know. I realize I'm getting off topic here, but you know what? I just have to say too, and this, we're already jumping the shark here, so who cares? But you know, just the other day, there was a what do they call it? A doomsday plane. There was a doomsday plane that flew over California just the other day, and you know why they call it it was a doomsday plane from the United States, and you know why they call it a doomsday plane, Brent?
Why?
You know why they have doomsday planes? It's because there's a threat of a nuclear war. That is when you see a doomsday plane, is when there's a threat of a nuclear war. So obviously there's a raised threat right now currently, because I said just the other day there was a report of a doomsday plane flying over. The only reason they fly doomsday planes is because of a threat of a nuclear war. So again, the reason I realize I've jumped the shark, and I apologize, but the reason I'm going here is because, again, remember when we had I'm going all over the place. But remember when we had Stephen on Wagstaff on, and he talked about the moment that he hit the water and he hit the sandbar, and he was paralyzed immediately. Remember? And he said he was floating. He was looking up at the sky, and he was already a believer of Jesus Christ at the time. He was a Christian. Like he grew up in the church. He was a pastor even, and but even right then he realized, like, wow, I have to be accountable. He kind of had that moment of like realizing like his life was kind of threatened at that moment of realizing like, am I gonna make it through this? And then he kind of realized like, wow, I have to. He came to a realization that there's going to come a time that he has to be accountable to God. That he has to kind of choose an allegiance. Choose an allegiance to like, am I going to align myself with God, or am I and try to do right by God, or am I not going to do that? And,
right.
And I'm sorry if I'm turning this whole thing into I didn't really want to do that. I'm sorry if I'm turning this whole thing into a sermon, but the reason I'm doing that is exactly because you have all these MLAs, particularly on the NDP side, I have to say, that are saying, we are the ones that hold the staff of righteousness. We are the ones that are defending kids. And it's like, bullshit you are, because you're the ones that are telling kids that they can't be kids. You're the ones telling kids that they grew up in the wrong body. You're the ones that are telling kids that God makes mistakes. Like how dare they? How like does David Eby not realize that one day, like if God came down from heaven right now and was right in front of David Eby's face, do you think David Eby at that moment is going to have the gall to say, you know what, God, you're a liar. You know what, God, you make mistakes. You make mistakes, God, and you're a liar. Do you think David Eby is going to have the confidence to say that, Brent?
Nope.
Do you honestly think that David Eby's going to have the confidence to say, you know what, God, you're a liar. You know what, God, you make mistakes. Do you think any of us are going to have the confidence to say it? I'm not going to have the confidence to say that. I would never say that. I would not be caught dead saying that, Brent. I would not be caught dead saying that. But for some reason, on that side of the House, Brent, on that side of the House, they hold the staff of righteousness, claiming that they're the ones of truth. They're the ones of truth. And I call bullshit, Brent. I call bullshit.
I remember when I was when I was just a kid, we'd have about 9 of us in our neighborhood. We'd all just play around and play with little trucks in the sandbox and play frisbee, and like, Brent, hey, catch, whoa, hey, oh, I see something flying over. I wasn't able to catch it in time, and is because of the hand and eye coordination. So I got very frustrated, but I thought it was still fun. Because, hey, you got to play with your neighbors in the area, and just being kids. Kids are being kids, and yeah. I mean, that's honestly the biggest reason why I'm upset, Brent, is because, like, I'm a parent. I'm a parent. I take being a parent very, very seriously, and I think the number one job of being a parent is you got to let kids be kids. And so when I see our own government is deliberately not letting kids be kids, you're having the current government is saying to 11, 12, 13-year-olds that, you know what, if you're an 11 or 12 or 13-year-old boy or girl, you know what, it's okay to say that you grew up in the wrong body. It's okay to say that God made a mistake. They actually say it. They're basically saying that, Brent. When they endorsed SOGI, the SOGI 123, the sexual orientation and gender identity. When you say you endorse that, you're basically saying that it's okay to think that you grew up in the wrong body. It's okay to say that God made a mistake. Yeah, when I was,
I would never, ever dare say that, Brent.
Yeah, when I was going through school, I didn't even know any of that word. I mean, we didn't even learn anything going to school or nothing. Like, all I want to do was just go to school, play with my friends in my neighborhood. No video games. We didn't have video games back then. We just stayed outside, played. Time to come in for dinner or come in for lunch. Whatever it may be. I'm not hungry. Oh, okay. Well, might want to run around the house a few times. I don't know, kick around a soccer ball or something. Oh, okay, work up an appetite. So you come in and you have dinner, but just play outside again. Play with blocks. Build a fort. I mean, now I don't know where society's gone. It's just and I guess that's still
like I remember. Sorry again, I keep cutting you off, but my sister, she grew up kind of a tomboy. But guess what? Nobody freaked out. It's like she had it was a phase of like 6 months or something. Just 6 months of like wanting to dress as a boy. And my parents were like, well, who cares? That's fine. No problem. And guess what, Brent? Guess what? My sister had a really cool Barbie doll house that actually my dad and my mom built from scratch, using all their own, like, actually they built it with their own wood and stuff like that. Like, cool. they didn't get it from a toy store. They actually built it was a really cool dollhouse for my sister, and I loved playing with that thing, and nobody freaked out. Nobody said, well, gee, Neil, you shouldn't be playing with dolls. That's weird. Nobody freaked out. Like I was allowed to be a kid. I was allowed to play with dolls, and my sister was allowed to wear boy shirts and boy pants or whatever. Who cares? And again, if you go back and watch our show from a month ago, I made the point of saying, and I don't want to repeat everything I said. I mean, if you want to, you can go back and watch it. But I made the point of saying that, again, like I had an uncle that was a gay man back in the early 80s when it was not fashionable to be gay, and I made the same point on that podcast like a month ago, or like when we did a month ago, right? And so I adored my uncle. There's a lot of gay people that I know personally that I adore. I do not have anything against a gay person or even people that are trans. I don't have anything. I don't. It's gonna seem like I have something against gay people or trans people, and that's not true. What I have a problem with, like if you want to be a trans person, whether it's a trans man or a trans woman, I honestly don't care. That's fine. What I'm saying is, if you're gonna make that choice as an adult. Make that choice as an adult. I do not believe, I guess this is my opinion, but it should be more than an opinion. In my opinion, this should be more than just an opinion. I firmly believe, Brent, that is not the position of government to tell kids they cannot be kids anymore. It's not the position of government to say, you know what, at 11, 12, and 13 years old, it's okay for you not to be a kid. It's okay to believe that you grew up in the wrong body. It's okay to believe that God made a mistake in assigning you either male or female. God made a mistake because the world serves a God that makes mistakes. I mean, that is shameful, Brent. That is shameful. That is shameful and disgusting that we have a government that actually believes that there's such a thing as a God that makes mistakes. Again, I go back to the point. If Jesus Christ himself
when I was a kid, I never thought that God made any mistakes.
No.
I was just a kid. And just played around, and when I hear about these things, it's like, what? Like, why is the government even trying to introduce any of this stuff into like legislation?
Yeah, they really shouldn't. You know what government should be focused on, Brent? They should be They should be focused on giving kids reading skills and math skills.
1 + 1 =
1 + 1 equals 2.
One times 4 is 4.
And see Jane run. Look Jane run. And look at the dog and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, go back to the basics of the fundamental, your mathematics, and teach the kids how to add up rather than using calculators. I mean, go back to the basics of the fundamental values that children grew up to actually understand. Because I tell you now, oh my gosh, geez, a couple months ago, I was at the grocery store. I don't go to the grocery store very often, everybody. It's not good. Lately, finance-wise, the way the government treats people with disabilities, buying power, it's not good. But anyway, when I was at the store, I remember having to go down and get a loaf of bread and some milk. And there's a teller working there. She was a young girl. And she, I was had two people in front of me. And so this gentleman and a lady, they just pulled out some dollar bills, and there was a dollar bill. It was actually a dollar bill. I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. She goes, what is that? I said, yeah, wow, you still got one of those? Yeah, it's still a little crinkled up a little bit, but still pretty good. Anyway, they wouldn't take it. She was, I can't take that. It's not legal tender now. So, okay, whatever. I guess my point is that I saw the transaction going on, and the actual amount came to $21.45. So the person said, well, here's $25, a $20 bill and a $5 bill. Mm-hmm. The girl couldn't figure out how much to give back to the customer.
Oh, wow.
She could not figure out how much to add up to the nearest dollar. So 45 cents. So 21.45. So that's 55 cents. So that moves up to $22. So that would have been $3.55 to give back to the customer. So she was going to give back. Another $5 bill plus some other $3.55. I don't know how she came up with that.
Yeah. Wow.
And he says, no. He says, I don't want you to be shortchanged in your till. No, that's what you gave me. You gave me 20. No, 30. No, I gave you 25. Well, where's the other 5? Like, she hadn't put the $5 back into her till from the previous customer.
Oh, wow.
So you see what would happen there. Now she would actually be in trouble because she'll be shortchanging her till, and then she'll be accused of dipping into her till, or something will go on. But the customer would have. The guy says, "I'm honest. I mean, I'm not going to, allow you to do that." But he said, "What is wrong with learning the fundamental values of counting up? Don't use a calculator." Oh yeah, he said, "Don't pull the calculator. No, don't put the calculator." He said, "Put the calculator away, add it up." And he actually taught her. He was a teacher.
Remember when we used to do times tables, Brent? They don't even do that in school anymore. They don't even teach timetables anymore.
They don't?
No, oh my God. They don't bother with that anymore.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I
guess they think it's a waste of time now. Yeah.
It was drilled in my head because you said you're going to need to know this later in life, and you do. I mean, you still use those values. I mean, I know I do, but I mean, subtractions, timetables, addition. I mean, multiplications, fractions. Everybody, algebra. Wow. I mean, accounting. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand. Going back to the basics of taking care of the children, making them.
And again, I did not set out to turn this whole thing into a big sermon, Brent. I honestly didn't.
No, I understand.
But the reason why it kind of went there is because, like, just the other day, I'm seeing our government that are standing up they think they're holding the staff of righteousness, saying that we're the ones that hold the staff of truth. We are the ones that hold the staff of righteousness. We are the ones that are standing up for our kids. We are the ones on this side of the house. They always say, on this side of the house.
I know.
We're the ones. We're
always
the
on
ones,
that
Brent.
side. Yeah. It's like this.
It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
It's like when I'm sitting here listening to them talking about, well, on our side of the house, we're the only government that says raise the disability rates because that side of the house, they kept the rates frozen for over 10 years. Well, I can tell you, lived experience, and I've talked about this many times on the podcast, so I guess this is where I'm going to continue on to our show here is, you know, not that I want to relive the COVID era, right, of the supplement, but I mean, decision making. I mean, Sonia and myself had to make some heart-wrenching decisions back then. We moved from Nanaimo, like we were living in Nanaimo, and we moved out to Langley, because I mean, I grew up. I mean, those were my stomping grounds, shall we say? Because I used to love going into downtown Langley, because that was the thing to do. That was the place to be. The slogan for Langley is the place to be.
Yeah, well, they still have that on the
yes,
signs.
I know. And I remember that
yeah.
when I was just a young teenager, I saw that sign. They were just getting it ready, and like it was a little bit different wording, but it was like, yeah, I mean, you want to go down, and of course, when you're just a young guy, I mean, hey, yeah, you want to go into the big city. Well, that wasn't the big city. To me, it was the big city. Vancouver was the very big city, and I never dreamed. I thought, well, one day I'm going to dream about going to Vancouver. But to me, I lived in the rural area in Langley. Langley is a huge area. But anyway, I'd either ride my bike down or I'd walk down. Yeah, I had to walk down because my bike was in the shop getting fixed, and they wouldn't give me my bike back until I made payments. Walking on my paper route, I had to save up money, do some babysitting. I did a little bit of that. Looked after about 3 doors down from where my mom lived, and I looked after the little guy, and yeah, little feisty little guy. He likes to try to test my patience, but it's okay. It all worked out good. I mean, him and I got along, and his sister, I had to babysit both of them, and and yeah, it was great. And back then, your dollar value, you got a lot of value for your dollar. So I mean, $20. I mean, for like 7 hours, the parents were gone out, and I mean, $20. Like, wow! Like, to me, I mean, in equivalent, that $20
was a lot.
I know,
Yeah.
but back then,
Yeah.
back then, that would be like almost like $100 value.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in equivalent.
Yeah.
So I thought, my mom's like, wow, I made more in that one night. And I mean, I guess they were just so happy because when they got back, like their house was a mess and the kids were sleeping. I just went around and I washed up the dishes. I swept and mopped the floor. I cleaned the whole place. They came back and the place was immaculate. They turned around.
Just think, Brent.
Yeah.
You always talk about chocolate. Remember, chocolate bars used to be 25 cents.
25 cents, no tax.
And now even just a small chocolate bar is $1.25.
Oh,
so
minimum.
Minimum is $1.25.
$1.70. Some places are fine.
Some of them are more expensive, right? So you're basically, you used to be able to get 6 chocolate bars or something for the price of 1 now. And no tax. And just think about that. I mean, it's just nuts.
And so, like, I would save up all this money, and I'd have to walk down. It took me an hour and 40 minutes hour and 45 minutes to walk all the way downtown. I could probably do an hour and 40 minutes to walk all the way downtown. So you get down there and, oh man, so now I want to make my time worthwhile because, I'm a long walk. So I'd go and get a hot chocolate somewhere, and, I'd save up the money and go and get it. And I mean, yeah, it was like 60 cents for hot chocolate. I was like, hey, I went to this little cafe and they gave me a refill. Got to know who the owners were. And, you want a refill, Brent? I only got this much with me. It's okay. It's okay. Save your money because you're going to need to make your deposit to your bicycle to go and get it. I said, yeah, they won't give it to me until I pay it all off. So that really, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about responsibility of like, yeah, you can't have it until you pay for it. Right.
Yeah.
So it always stuck in my mind that
David Eby needs to learn that lesson, right? He should learn that if I don't have $13 billion, maybe I shouldn't spend $13 billion.
Well, that's why I get so frustrated. I look at the fundamentals of like, you take care of your citizens.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just tax the right people. You actually, the higher up. But here's a better thing, and I think a lot of people would really agree on this. So you lower down the taxes, right? You lower down the amount of taxes that British Columbians pay. That means they got more money in their pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So because people say, well, raise the rates. Well, if you lower down the taxes overall, small businesses are going to thrive more. because they're paying less in tax. They don't have all the overhead. And I know I had a neighbor, a really good neighbor of mine, who actually run a small business for years. I used to go and help them stock things up in their little store. For a while when I was doing my paper a little bit there, and like, wow, it was pretty cool. And I was like, well, I was stocking their shelves, and they said, oh, here's the mop. Can you, sweep and mop the floor? Yeah, like in exchange, they said, well, I'll give you some chocolate bars and the chips and some pop. That was my payment. I was happy with it. And they asked if I want to get paid. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. If chocolate bar, chips, and pop, that's great.
Yeah. It's equivalent, right? It's equivalent.
I said, yeah, like that's fine. And the owner said, well, here's like, here's $5. Like he would throw me $5, and he says, yeah, just save it up because I want to go and fix my bike up. I was talking about my bike because that was my mode of transportation. That was my wheels. And I souped it all. I got mirrors on it. I had reflectors on it. I had blinkers on it. I had a radio on it. Oh yeah, I souped it all up.
Did you have those? What do they have? Those things that you put them on the spokes and it would make noise.
Yep. Oh yeah. Actually, here's the thing. I put little hockey cards and I put a little.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah. And my neighbors would get so pissed off with me. Oh my god. They'd be like, oh yeah, they would phone my mom up and tell Brent stop doing that. It was echo. It's like it's like a helicopter coming in. Or it's like a car goes by with a muffler. It's like bang bang. Anyway, I guess my point is that the basic fundamental values of life, we need to go back to that standard of living where we stop taxing like everybody so much money. The money goes back into your pocket. It's like giving everybody rent geared to income. And rent geared to income, people think, who needs that? Anybody on low income, you go after a certain tax threshold. And if you fall under the certain tax threshold, if it's like 30, I don't know if it's like $35,000, $30,000 per year. So maybe, people could say, well, that tax threshold should be changed. Well, whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there. I'm not Mr. Einstein. I know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything. But what I do say is that, in my opinion, I think we need to start taking care of our citizens a lot better, because number one, if you give people the right housing, they're going to stay housed. You give them the supports that they need, whatever that may be. Okay, there's a lot of topics underneath that threshold. You give them the supports they need. Now they're going to take better care of themselves the best way they can. So it eliminates poverty, right? It eliminates poverty on so many aspects. And if we start going back to the basics A, B, C, D, as we all learned in elementary school, right? And 1, 2, 3s, we can actually start making society a lot better for ourselves and for our citizens. So when we take care of one another, that's how it works. And so when you give people subsidized housing, that money goes back into the community. It helps businesses. It helps people visit their friends and families, caregivers. They can go and do appointments. They can go and enjoy life rather than giving it to the corporate landlords who are getting ultra.
And when you give somebody a bus pass, guess what? They can use the bus. When you take it away, they can't use the bus.
When you tempt a person by giving them that choice, and we talked about this back in the podcast like many times, and I still remember the day when that was changed. At first I thought, okay, this doesn't make sense. I thought, okay, give people a choice. Okay, so, the government's going to raise rates. Okay, so here's, maybe somebody lives in a rural area. Okay, they don't have the conventional bus transit. Okay, so they're going to get money instead. They're going to even out across the system. But the minister at the time thought it was equitable in the system, that was fairness and equitable. 6 people changed the whole system because it didn't work for them. So let's change the whole system and get everybody $52. Let's take away a transportation subsidy in a rural area, $692 people got as a lump sum check by the BC government at the time, living in, like, say they lived up in, I don't know, I'll just randomly pick an area, Nelson, Creston, way up in, I don't know, any rural area that would basically not have regional transit on a basically on a permanent basis, right? They would have dial a ride, or they'd have to do, get cheap insurance, or maybe pay a friend, and maybe a lump sum. They go, and basically do it that way. So the government took it away and said, here's $52 a month. Well, what if you were paying a friend, or you're basically buying insurance, and you basically had to pay for all that at once? Are you going to make small little payments now and give it to them? So that's how I looked at it. Was that didn't seem right to me, but the government said it was great. So now fast forward.
Well, because you have able-bodied people making decisions for disabled people, right?
Exactly. And then when the government, basically the Liberal government,
it's the same thing going back to the very beginning of the show when I said, I'm not stupid enough to think that I'm going to insert myself into a racial discussion on what it means to be Indigenous when I myself know nothing about being Indigenous. I'm not going to be stupid enough to say that I know. Yeah, and then when they basically took that away, and then they tried giving it back. They said, well, here's 70s. I still remember that 77. Oh, I was so freaking pissed off at the time. It was like, wow, here's $77. So you can have 52 for a bus pass, or you can have $25 that's left over. Well, the government got heat from the disability advocacy organizations and self-advocates. We all pushed back on the government real hard on that. Oh, they realized, okay, we screwed up. Okay. So, they said, here's the $77. Yeah. Yeah. But we're going to give you $50. We're going to give you $50 basically for a bus pass toward. But the NDP kept it going forward. They never changed it. It was copied. They never changed it back. No.
They never did. But I guess the moral of the story on that is easy peasy. Just give everybody a bus pass. Let them by default. If you don't opt into a bus pass, you get $52 a month. Okay, on your check. So I say basically just give a check mark off to all PWD in BC. If they don't want to use a bus pass, they don't have to. It's there. But give everybody $52. Just let them keep that. But also index the rates to inflation. Yeah. Because if you don't do that, guess what happens? It erodes away your buying power. And when your buying power erodes away, well, guess what happens? You have to now choose to opt in to a bus pass or opt out. Basic means of transportation. I remember John Horgan always said, and he says, it's a basic means of transportation. Just give them back their bus pass. He was very vocal at the time. Yeah. And I tell you, they were wonderful when they were in opposition, Neil. They were the powerhouses of all to be like. And I thought, wow,
even,
the government
honestly, even when John Horgan became premier, though, he kept things going fairly good, right?
Yeah, he did.
And I mean, you compare now. Whenever it was a couple podcasts ago, I made the point that it literally feels like basically every MLA on the BC NDP side has dropped in IQ by about 30 or 40 points each. Yeah. And I wish I was telling a joke like David Eby, speechwriter. I wish I was telling a joke when I said, but I'm not telling a joke. You can literally see everybody on the other side, on that side. I'll use what they say. Everybody on that side of the house, on the NDP side of the house, has literally dropped 30 to 40%, points, IQ points. You can see it. You can see it. You can literally see it. Well, everybody's stupid over there now because you know what? They have a stupid leader. That's the thing. If you have a stupid leader, everybody else becomes stupid, Brent. That's just a fact. That's a truth and a fact. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give a kind of an overview of I've talked about the fallout of the BC budget 2026, February 17th. I've had time to talk to a lot of people in the community here, from where the region, the area that I can walk to anyway. I'm working at trying to figure out how to get bus pass back. I have a different pass, but getting kind of pushed back on using it on the transit here lately. They want me to be able to tap onto their system, and my pass doesn't allow me to do that. Right. Yeah.
So I've had a little bit of pushback, which is unfortunate. And for me, accessibility wise, I want to be just like like the rest of the people in BC with disabilities, be able to tap on, tap off the system. And
Tap on,
like
tap off.
like in our BC Transit here, they have a system called UMO, and basically they now allowing people with disabilities who have opted into their bus pass to basically tap in on their system. It's like TransLink has in the Lower Mainland. You can tap on. So now anybody who's now opted into that bus pass program, BC, you can actually use it on BC Transit and TransLink. Me, I have to flash I have another card. I have to take a chance that there's a couple bus drivers. Yeah, they don't like my card. And when I say my card, I have a national ID card that allows me to use accessible transit in whatever region in Canada that I need. But I've had some pushback on it, and so it's kind of a hit and miss. One driver, I ended up having to walk all the way down to the store because Sonia was really sick there for a while, and she got over her cold. By the way, everybody that's been watches the podcast, so I had to walk down because the bus driver wouldn't let me on the bus. I'm not kidding. I could have filed a complaint. I left it alone because it's not worth fighting over just to file a little complaint, or it wasn't a little complaint, but I mean, I thought whatever. Like I'm not gonna. There's other things to worry about in life. Again, it just makes me furious because I want to be able to tap on the system and tap off the system.
Yeah.
And here's the catch: is that I want to continue on with that pass. I have to have a registered address in the Lower Mainland in order to use it because it's supposed to be for TransLink. However, BC Transit is working on trying to integrate bypass into their system.
Can you use my address? Can you spoof my address?
Well, technically, I could be living at your address. I mean, and that's how messed up their system is. I'm serious. Everybody, I talked to TransLink. They said they have nothing to do with that. They're the ones that administer it out. It's the organization that dictates. In order to use that, you need to have a physical address in Metro Vancouver to use the system. But once BC Transit integrates it into their system, I can use it anywhere. So now they can't go with that, when the organization can't go with that narrative and spin it out saying, deflect it. Well, it has to be this way. Well, TransLink says no, it doesn't have to be that way because TransLink says technically, if I wanted to use it, if I say my card expires, I can't use it now in the Metro Vancouver. It hasn't expired yet. But if it did, if I wanted to use their system, I would actually have to phone, request bus tickets. But here's the catch. TransLink says that I can use it for whatever I want. The organization says, nope, it has to be basically for medical purposes only. And I told them what they said, and they said, that's hogwash. No, that's not true. You don't have to have medical appointments to use transit in transit. You can use it for whatever you want. Leisure, appointments, grocery shopping, visit friends, family. They said because that's being very seclusive and alienating a disabled against disabled or anybody for having accessible transit versus not. And I said, well, that's what they told me. They said, no. So I have to work on that. I've still got time to work on that. But I guess the moral of the story is, just give everybody, in the meantime, get everybody with disabilities the bus pass back automatically. Check mark their name off.
They really should do that.
They have a little field there, and it's a spreadsheet. I've worked with those in college. Actually, I taught that in basically high school, but in college, there's a spreadsheet, and there's a column there. All you have to do is just select all fields. All fields.
You know how long it would take me to do a little spreadsheet, Brent? I could have one done in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I used to work with those all the time.
Everybody could have their bus pass back just like within 5 minutes. We had to do that
as a group projects in college, and we had to make our own fields, and then it would actually multiply. It would actually every time you change a field, a number, it would actually recalculate itself.
But now the way they have it is every month you have to opt in or opt out, Brent. Opt in,
exactly.
Opt out.
And then you have to go a whole month cycle. Yeah. So you got to wait till so you have to decide by the 5th of the month. If you miss that time frame, now you have to wait. But if you say, okay, on the 5th, I want to opt out, okay, on your next check, yeah, they'll give you $52, but now you say, yeah, I want to opt back in. Okay, that'll take effect on the 5th, but now you got to wait till the next month to basically get that pass. Like, so you're waiting quite a while. So I guess here's an update, I guess, of people are wondering, well, what's going on with Brent and Sonia's moving situation eventually, what they're going to be doing. So I was talking to Sonia. She says, we'll bring this up on the podcast. Just don't talk about where we're going to be, looking at. And I won't, because I don't think really anyone, it doesn't really mean anything. We have to eventually look at cheaper housing. We don't know where that's going to be. Right now, we're okay where we are temporarily.
I wish my parents had us.
Yeah.
Right now, my sister's still living at my parents' place.
Yeah, but we've got some time.
But she wasn't sure how long she was going to stay there. So remember, I kind of gave you the heads up. But so far she's still there. So, but it's too bad because I think my parents would be more than willing to have both you and Sonia there. But as it is right now, it's just not to be yet. So.
Yeah, but we're going to keep our, definitely keep all the options open. As we all know, in BC, they gave no dollar increase for PWD but meanwhile, the government can spend $20 billion and nothing to show for it. But $0, and so people in the community, people in my building where I live, the sister and brother buildings of the same company that we rent from, I got to know people in the area. They came by here doing canvassing, talking about it was almost like a block watch party. They all came around. Hey, I know you. Hey, I didn't know you lived in here. And there was about a transit. We went to a transit rally, and this guy showed up in my building one day. I was just locking the door. I was going to go for a walk, and this guy's standing in my hallway. He goes, "Hey, I know you. You look familiar." Yeah, hey, you were at the transit rally. Remember about the Cowichan Valley?
Oh, I thought he was going to say, I know you from the podcast.
And I said, yeah, right. He goes, hey, I didn't know you lived here. I go, what are you doing in my building, man? He goes, he said, you live just down here. I said, yeah, I live down the hallway here. Oh, okay. So we got talking about the accessibility, about rates. We got talking a little bit about rates. I educated them about RGI, rent geared to income. A lot of them are paying high market rent, and I said it would benefit all of you to have rent geared to income. Oh, so I explained them how that works. So I said, because eventually, we live where we are now, but we can't afford to keep getting these rent increases because with the government not increasing our rates, eventually we're going to have to move because it gets to a point where you can't keep cutting back on your core services. There's nothing else to cut back on, right? We can negotiate with our service provider. We deal with TELUS. I'll just be straight up. People say, well, who do you deal with? Doesn't matter. You don't have too many service providers to deal with in Canada.
You got three to choose from.
I deal with TELUS. They've been fair. And to be honest, they've been fair to us.
Yeah. They've been fair to me too, yeah. But there's a scam going around now. They're just in the news the other day.
I
Huge
heard
scam
about
with
that,
TELUS, so
and people's information could be compromised, and they don't know. They're in damage control right now, and they don't know to what degree. So, our information could be in the hands of scammers. So I have to be on high alert, make sure that I don't get a lot too many spoof calls or whatever. I don't answer them anyway now, but yeah. So anyway, I guess going back to that is they're negotiable, but you have to keep signing a 2-year service agreement in order to keep your rates down. They can renegotiate, drop prices down, give you some bill credits to try to offset some of the rising costs. But they even admitted to me, they said it's going to get to a point where we're not going to be able to keep doing that. You'll have to make a decision on maybe going right down to, just in basic internet, even going down to even 75 speed. I said, oh, no, I can't do that. I said, I do a podcast, and if I go down to 75 speed, trust me, in the area that I'm in, it would be buffering real bad. Yeah. It would be going back into the Twitter space era of, it would be the audio would be crap.
You would be a photograph right now, Brent. You would just be a photograph.
Yeah, it'd be like me doing a phone-in show, and it'd be all cracking, cutting in and out.
Yeah.
it hasn't come down to that, and it won't, because TELUS they said, even if you went with one of our competitors, and they even admitted, they said, we would hate to lose you as a customer, but whoever gives you the better deal. So I may down the road look into Rogers. I don't know. I won't deal with Bell. No offense, Bell, but I won't deal with you for satellite service or whatever. It's just no. But so I will look at when the time comes. But in the meantime, that's why I keep emphasizing that we need to get rent geared to income. There's a long waiting list, up to 17 years in BC housing. Nonprofits, there's a long waiting list of the third-party nonprofits that you don't even have to go through BC Housing, which BC Housing even admitted to me. They said that there are nonprofits that we have nothing to do with, but they go with the formula rent geared to income. So you need to meet that criteria. However, the gentleman I spoke to said, because he actually deals with some of that stuff, and some of their co-partners have affiliations to do with that. He said there's a long waiting list to get in there, very long. Sonia was just joking, like going on the phone, and she said, well, like, how long? Well, could be up to 17 years. We'll be dead by then. Yeah. Oh, dear. He says, dear God. I said, sir, I mean, joking around, I mean, all seriousness, like, it's a dire need. Okay, so you live in what?
Yeah, well, if I'm gonna ask you this, Brent, if you and Sonia pass away, are you gonna go up to heaven and then say, you know what, God, you're a liar, you're a liar?
Yeah, you were supposed to protect us so that the government wouldn't allow this to happen. What did you do? Yeah. He'll say, well,
you're a God of mistakes. You're a God of mistakes.
Oh dear, yeah. But the fact is that we may have to move further out. We don't know. Like, we just haven't. We're kind of exploring a lot of different options. But here's the catch: Sonia has to be around medical. She needs all her specialists for her medical conditions that she has. I won't go into detail. I mean, everyone knows that I talk about diabetes, and she's got diabetes. I mean, she's having some tough times with stuff right now with it. Trying to keep her numbers regulated, eating healthy food. She's not able to do that as much as she should. Numbers have been elevated, highs, lows. So she's doing the best she can. And I guess that's why the point is I put harp on the government so much about raising rates, because when you don't do these things and you don't take responsibility of taking care of your citizens, people have to suffer, they have to cut back. And when she's not eating all the right healthy foods, she's eating stuff that she shouldn't be eating. Stuff that people would say, oh, that's good for a snack or, the odd time. I mean, however, she has to eat some of this stuff to keep her numbers higher. If she was able to eat healthy food, she wouldn't have to eat any of that stuff, which
you know what David Eby says, though?
Oh, he'll say,
good for thee, but not for me. Good for thee,
exactly.
But not for me.
It's about taking responsibility and looking at the government finances better. Stop hiring all these people when in your offices, hiring and firing, because when you keep doing that, guess what happens? You got to pay them out severance pay, and that's not cheap to do that, right? So make a decision, keep them on, don't keep as many on, and stop doing all that, because it costs taxpayers a hell of a lot of freaking money. Yeah. I've never known any government in my life, even since I was a kid. And I used to watch this stuff on the TV because my mom would be watching all these different things. So like, so it was my mom's fault. It was my mom's fault. She said, she would be yelling at the TV. She said, stupidity. I go, what, Brent? They're ignorant.
Well, you know what? We're almost at an hour and a half now, Brent. And I just wanted to bring it right back around to the beginning of the show. I believe that the number one job of government is to defend democracy. If you don't defend democracy, then what's the point? What's the point of even having a government if you don't defend democracy? And right now, with all of this DRIPA stuff, it does not defend democracy, and that is why, going back to líya Warbus, who herself, again, she's from the Stolo Nation. And Indigenous, she herself is against DRIPA because it does not defend democracy. It does not defend sovereignty. You're eroding sovereignty of Canada. You're eroding you're eroding the democracy of BC, and that is not a good thing. And so for everybody to be pointing fingers, especially on the BC NDP side, and say, well, you're all liars, and you're disputing hate, and you're all racist. I mean, that is not solving anything.
It causes division,
and especially for them to say, we hold the staff of truth, we hold the staff of righteousness. I'm like, that is why today devolved into a sermon. And again, I apologize for it, Brent, but that is why, because when I see on the other side the BC NDP saying that we hold the staff of truth, we hold the staff of righteousness, on this end of the house we hold the truth, we hold the righteousness. I mean, that's a bunch of crap, Brent. That's a bunch of crap.
Well, you see,
that just has to stop. That has to stop.
Yeah, and one of I was having some discussions just recently on that too, and I mean, what's happening? I mean, it's just created so much uncertainty, and with everything going on in the world and people's livelihoods, they paid into all their life. I mean, they inherited maybe a home, or they saved up since they were just a little kid, and then they said, hey, this is my dream, it would be nice to own a home. So they saved up all their money, and they bought the money, they put the money on, and now there's uncertainty, and then taxes go up. I mean, and the cost of living, as we all know, it's gone up, ballooned up there. And then it's created now uncertainty. Well, do you own your home? Do you not own your own home? People have enough stress in their life having to deal with.
And again, it's David Eby that's created that. It's David Eby that's created it.
It's because it was written into the
Interpretation Act.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the one that did that mess.
Yeah, the Interpretation Act, and how it was written. And if it would just been just left alone,
he could have left it alone, and everything would have been fine. But
everything's fine. It's just like when you're a kid.
To screw with it first. Yeah.
If you start changing something, I always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Just like I was always taught that. Is my mom always drilled it into my mind, is that if it's not broken, Brent, don't fix it. And I guess when I said just a few minutes ago in the podcast where I said my mom would be screaming at the TV saying they're all ignorant, and then she rephrased herself and said, Mom, how could you say it? She goes, basically what I'm saying, Brent, is that they're not talking logic. She says there has to, and that's what I really emphasize in the podcast, a fundamental value. She taught me that since I was a little child. There's basic standards, and you have to maintain basic standards. And when she taught me going forward, and then I used to argue with my family doctor, I'd argue with her, and I took back words that I said to my mom.
Do you realize though, Brent, that BC is now the only jurisdiction in the entire world that has actually adopted something from the UN, like anything from the UN is like aspirational, right? Like we have the CRPD too, the Convention for the Rights for People with Disabilities, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with aspirational stuff. It's like,
only if they could implement in all the standards that are supposed to be.
Yeah, but when you force it in and you say we must do this,
right?
And when you do it at the expense. When you do it at the expense of democracy, when you do it at the expense of sovereignty, and you have to destroy democracy and you have to destroy sovereignty in order to do it.
Right. Yes.
Then that does not make sense, Brent. You don't do it.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Exactly.
You don't do it. There's a reason why nobody else in the world has done what has tried to shoehorn a UN platitude into law. There's a reason why the rest of the world hasn't done it, because the rest of the world realizes it's stupid.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if I mentioned on the last podcast, but if I did, I kind of repeat myself on it, which that's okay. Everyone knows Brent loves to repeat himself anyway. There's a what was it, Sonia? What was it last week? Just last week, we were just coming in. We were just coming in the door. And this gentleman was just coming out the door of our building, and he said hello. And I've talked to him many times. I don't know what unit he's in, but neighborly, right? You say hi to your neighbors, hello, hello, goodbye, goodbye, or whatever, small talk. I think Sonia said hello. I think she said hello because he said hello, and she said hello, and I said hello. And I said, how are you? Of course, me, I like to strike up a conversation, but it was small talk with him because I sensed there was something off. I thought, okay, I'm going to leave it alone. Like, if he wants to say anything, then he will. I said, how are you? And he goes, and I think most people would say, usually you'll say, how are you? And people, I think in general, they'll say, oh, fine.
Yeah.
But in some, just because it's just being polite, they don't want to say, oh, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
He actually came out, I guess I was stunned. I said, how are you? And he says, terrible. The worst day I've had. And the worst day I've had in 30 years.
I think most people, it
And
would
I'm
be
like,
actually
wow.
beneficial if most people would be honest and say if that's the case.
Yeah, I've
Just
done that. I
admit
did that
yeah.
at the legislature just last time when we were there. I mean, we were there just yesterday, but I actually did that line. I said, how are you? I think Sonia says, not good. And I said, I go, terrible. And that's what the gentleman just said at our door. He goes, terrible. In the 30 years, he was let go. What did he say, Sonia?
I can't remember.
The gentleman that we spoke to down on he was
Lost his job.
he was an entertainer. Yeah, one of the for like a lot of activities. The different orchestras that go on down there and stuff. And he was one of the entertainers who actually put things together, and he would play his instruments and be part of the organization puts things together. He was dismissed effective immediately after over 30 years down on the harbor. That's all he knew. He was what they call it, a busker, or busker, I think.
Busker.
But he actually helped to organize and put things together of all the different orchestras that come in there too. He was quite involved in it. However, why he was let go? Because he was actually on the apparently First Nations land. They wanted to vacate everybody off of there, and they offered him another position, but it was something that he didn't know, like he wasn't familiar with, and so he had to decline it because he says, I don't know that, like he wouldn't be able to make a living.
Yeah.
And that's all he knows, and so now he's got to go up island. He doesn't for a while. He's now, of course, now we're going to have vacancy in our building. So guess what happens? Corporate landlords love it when basically people give a notice in, because now they can jack up the rent for the next tenant, which housing is not cheap enough anyway, especially ask a person with disabilities. I mean, we can tell you $500 is not enough to rent anywhere. So you can't even rent your whole check on one of the units in our building. Go figure. At one time you could. But anyway, I felt sorry for this guy because, I mean, his income's not high. When I told him, basically how the government treated us with, as a citizen with disabilities, he was shocked.
Had a kid too.
He has a little child too. That's the part that really hammered home to Sonia. She was really upset about that. It really bothered her emotionally that after all that experience that he has put in and all his heart and soul, he says, I would have lived somewhere else. If I would have known this was going to happen, I wouldn't even set up shop where I am. I wouldn't. He says, trying to find housing cheap enough. He says, I can't find where cheaper. I go, either can we?
Yeah.
So I said, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go up island for a while. I'm just going to, I don't know. He says, do, not Airbnb, he said, but he says, I'm going to have to figure things out, maybe crash out here and there and find out some people and ask them if I could crash somewhere at their home or, I go, oh,
but
wow.
Again, the ruling government right now does not care. They do not
that's
care.
what he told me. No, that's what he told me. He says that the government has created so much chaos.
They should say on this end of the house, we do not care if there's people that are
Well,
homeless. We do not care.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That Sonia does not have healthy food to eat, so her numbers are spiking. We do not care that, on and on and on it goes. We do not care that people with disabilities have their bus pass taken away.
Yeah.
And every month they have to decide, do we want a bus pass or do we want to eat this month? We do not care. We on this side of the house, we do not care, Brent.
Yeah, on this side of the house, we do not care because the only thing that we did, we changed the spousal cap. Oh, hooray, hey, look what we did.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you do? oh, instead of two of you having $1,000, no, we're going to give you $695. But look what we did, hey.
We do not care about the pink unicorns. We do not
We
care.
clawed $305 off.
Long
you.
live the pink
Hey.
unicorns.
But here's $53.75. But hey, we raised the support
Yeah.
portion, did we? Well, no, because we raised this up, but we're going to punish you on $395.
Yeah.
Hey, shelter's already bad enough at $500, but let's keep it at $695. Oh, but we raised it from $375 because the rates were frozen for 16 years. Oh,
We on this side of the house, we believe in pink unicorns, Brent. We
But
believe in pink unicorns.
but we
On this side of
borrowed
the
the-
house, we
we
believe in pink
borrowed the
unicorns.
supplement. We gave $300 and we took away $150 of it in 2020. Oh,
Yeah.
and 2021, we gave back $25.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
you got,
we probably should sign out, Brent. And
Yeah.
and again, I just want to circle back. What was the 2 words of the day, Brent? What was the 2 words of the day? First word was democracy.
and second word is
Second word is sovereignty. And both of those things are being threatened. Both of those things are being threatened, and that is why people are pissed off. Again, I would have to say, like, for the most part, I don't think people are upset with Indigenous reconciliation. I think for the most part, I have to say that for the most part, I don't think most people are upset with Indigenous reconciliation. What I'm upset about is David Eby's version of Indigenous reconciliation. And when I said that the first time, I got told that I'm a racist on Twitter. I got told I'm a racist because I said I do not support David Eby's version of Indigenous reconciliation. I got told I was racist. And like I said, I think that has to stop, Brent. You know, like, we should be allowed to say that David Eby's version of Indigenous reconciliation sucks, because it does suck. He has made a mess. David Eby has single-handedly made a mess of Indigenous reconciliation.
but
And I think people want to see Indigenous reconciliation done right, including people like líya Warbus. Including people like líya Warbus, who is, again, the MLA for BC Conservatives.
But here's
herself somebody from Stolen Nation.
Yeah, here's on our next one of our next podcasts. We'll talk more about the repercussion on Bill C9 and Bill C22 on our next one of our next podcasts. We'll try and gather as much information up on that. I know there's a lot of confusion going on from what I'm hearing. People freaking out. There's uncertainty. They like, well, what can I say and what can't I say, and how is it going to affect you on any kind of social media? I know I'm getting pushback. I mean, not pushback, but people asking, like, Brent, do you know, have you heard what's going on there? Will it affect people with disabilities on being vocal on what, for advocacy wise? I mean, am I allowed to say certain things, or am I not allowed to say certain things? With all those questions being said, we're going to do our best to try to compile all this and make sense of it all.
Well, apparently it's already happened in the UK, and people have been thrown in jail now, Brent. People have been thrown in jail for a meme. For posting a meme. People have been thrown in jail for not just a couple of days, but for like months. For posting a meme, Brent. So
if you're having a bad day, and when this law gets passed, and you're having a bad day, and you say, this is how I feel about such and such politician, because of policy-wise.
If
and
I say that David Eby's version of Indigenous reconciliation sucks, I can be thrown in jail.
Yeah, then he may say, well, I don't like what you're saying. So then but we'll talk more on our next.
And David Eby, I do not like how you're running the province. So there.
Yeah. So then one of our other podcasts coming forward, like, I'm not sure if it'll be next show, but we will be talking about the repercussions on that. And
I mean, the whole world has gone topsy-turvy, Brent.
It's
so much. Like I said, I mean, I already mentioned earlier in the show, we have one of the doomsday planes flying over California. So
I thought I heard something that one of my neighbors was saying something about that, and I was like, what? And it's not good.
So
I guess going forward, people say, well, okay, so how are things affecting overall and for us? And right now we are where we are. I'm going to keep pushing the government to amend the budget. give people, no less than a certain amount to live with. I know that our good friend Jeff, he's been trying to set up a meeting to meet with the minister and go over this stuff. With Sonia and myself, just a little FYI to people. People say, well, why don't you just set up a meeting? Well, we actually did. We tried to. But the minister's appointment calendar is actually full. We actually, when we were at the legislature yesterday, we attempted to try to set up an appointment. One of her staffers said her calendar is really booked up, and then we saw
for you.
We saw Minister Malcolmson. Sonia said we saw her from a distance, and she saw us, and their staffers right there, and she barreled right over. Oh yeah, she barreled right over. And good to see both of you. I said to her, yeah. I did. I used that one. Yeah. And she looked at me. She didn't. I'm sorry, Sheila. I just automatic.
Man.
I went, yeah. Like
Does she know that you do that on the podcast? Does she know?
Probably not.
Oh.
Maybe she does. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, long story short is I said, well, yes, we're trying to set up an appointment to meet with you. We want to talk about rates, and we want to talk about rent guarantee income, like housing. And she goes, right, yeah. So my calendar, and also her staff was, yeah. So like I said to you before, Brent and Sonia, minister's calendar is really booked right now. We'll do the best we can to get you guys in. And Sonia then piped up. She goes, oh, well, we can meet with you in Nanaimo. Yeah, I don't think that would work too well. Things are not going so well in Nanaimo. It would be better that if we both just met up here.
What does that mean? It's not going well in Nanaimo.
Well, Nanaimo's had a lot of problems going on. A lot of street disorder, businesses getting broken into. It's really bad. It's not. Sonia's parents want to move out of Nanaimo eventually. They want to get the hell out of there.
Isn't that funny? Because a while ago you were thinking about going to Nanaimo.
We were thinking about it. I mean, it's still safe. There's certain. I mean, every city, everybody. There are certain areas that are, I say, safe, not safe. I mean, what isn't safe anymore? I mean, I don't live in a bubble. I mean, some people will say, "Oh, well, don't go downtown, Brent. It's not safe." Hell,
you could always hire a security guard, Brent.
Yeah.
You can always hire a security guard, but then you have to pay the extra 7% now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay them 7% to take care of your business that was already hurting already. So this has hurt the business more. Let's hire more rather than dealing with the underlying issue. The underlying issue is deal with poverty, eliminate poverty, get them the help that they need, get them housed, give them the income, get them all the supports they need. It basically eliminates poverty. No, but let's put a Band-Aid over. Let's hire more police officers, more security.
Yeah.
Wow. But anyway, so the minister says it was kind of ironic because Sonia all of a sudden said, "Well, I can meet in Nanaimo," and her staffers just like, It's just okay. So we're gonna work on this. I said, okay. So the moral of the story, probably not until it'll end at April, May, right? Yeah, something like that. And again, everybody, all I want to do is set up a meeting to talk about the rates, why there's nothing in the BC budget this year, because we got a rent increase, cost of living's up. How do you pay for it?
But again, Brent, I mean, if you have no money, where's it going to come from? And
here's the problem. Yes, exactly. So that's why you got to lower the taxes down.
The government says they have no money, so.
But you don't go. Yeah, exactly. So the worst thing is that go and raise the taxes on businesses already hurting, and that it actually has the employees
raise
in
the
it.
taxes on the lowest income bracket.
And it hurts them even more when they're already down. So they always say kick them when they're down, kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down, right? Well, they're kicking them when they're down, and they're going to go further down. And
sing it now, Brent. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down.
Yeah, that's why I was going with that. There was a song on that. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Down, down, down. And so I say you need to basically look at the budget and to figure out a way. I'm sure, they could have saved a lot of money rather than giving $60,000 to all the MLAs when they first got in. That would have been a huge cost savings right there. I mean, rather than retaining them all and all the staffers, 18,000 and a whole bunch of them. I mean, wow, I've never heard of that before. John Horgan would have been so pissed. And yeah, if he was still around, I mean, he wouldn't have done that. Yes, he made mistakes, granted, but he admitted when he made mistakes, and he said, look, he basically corrected himself.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think that David Eby's even admitted to one mistake.
No,
in his whole time, in his whole time as an MLA, let alone a premier, in his whole time as an MLA, he has not admitted
John Horgan did, though. I mean, he
mistake.
admitted. Yeah, John Horgan admitted. Like, and I've said it, and we've had meetings and stuff, and he said, he goes, Brent, I'm not perfect. Okay, I said, no, I didn't. I said, John, nobody said you are perfect. He goes, I know that I'm probably pissing you guys off and not raising you guys' rates as much as I should. I know that our government needs to do better. But I mean, I want everyone to understand it's the policies within the government. Everything's driven by policies, and it's written into legislation, right? We need to modernize this legislation so that, because when legislation is done, that equals policy, right? So you have to go to the embedded part and go in there and you change it and you modernize it. And you got to listen to lived experience situations here and all the advocacy organizations. We don't just say government, we don't just all say this just for the hell of it, right? It impacts our life, our decision making. I mean, we lost a nice home in Langley to move all the way to Victoria for cheaper rent. Oh, it's cheaper rent. The government's like, yay. Well, it's not so cheaper now. You get what you pay for. So, hear that, everybody? Sonia just said, you get what you pay for. Okay. So now the cost of living has gone up. The rents, everything's gone up. There's a chart that I got. Neil, maybe you can add it to the podcast. There's a chart.
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? It's a very elaborate, colorful chart. I mean, it looks very pretty. Yeah. But the sum of it is, and I can say it in about 3 seconds. The sum of it is
8-cent increase.
Is from 2020 to 2026.
Yeah.
The PWD rates here in BC have gone up in 6 years. Increased 8 cents.
8 cents.
8 cents in 6 years. That
8
is
cents.
8 cents.
8.
So so that works out to about what 1 cent, 1.25 cents per year, Brent.
Yeah.
1.25 cents per year.
Mm-hmm. It was
and that accounts.
It went up to 50.
And then Sheila Malcolm can say, "Well, we
raised
the rates
five times.
But if you look at the chart, from 2020 to 2026, the actual rate has only increased 8 cents from 2020 to 2026. It's gone up by 8 cents.
And it's not even cents. And it's not even tied to the cost of living, everybody.
No.
And
we don't have that here in BC.
Yeah, I'm not a big favor of Doug Ford, and I mean I'll make it very.
Yeah, at least he's done that though, right?
At least he tied the rate to inflation there. And should he be raising their rates out there in Ontario? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. He should be taking care of their citizens out there. I mean, taking care of people on ODSP, raising OW. I mean, well over 8 years. Our good friend Joseph. He's talked about. He's been very vocal. I call him the numbers guy. He's very vocal about OW. I mean, really, it's already disrespecting people on ODSP, but OW, you're really disrespecting people on OW. I mean, there's probably a lot of people on OW in Ontario right now that are disabled, and because their system is so screwed up, they're sitting here waiting to get on to wait for their doctor. The doctor's already signed off the paperwork. Is sitting in limbo of them actually getting the proper financial support that they are legally obligated to or eligible for. Is that how we take care of our citizens? That's just tied to inflation. Leave it, because you tie it to inflation. Guess what happens? I can tell you, your dollar value erodes away, and everything depletes down. It's like BC doing that. They would say, walk away. Oh, well, we don't have to raise it because inflation, just goes up every year. They do it for minimum wage in BC. They tie it to inflation. Why can't they do it? And they do it for all the politicians. Their wages go up automatically. They don't have to vote for it or put it in the budget. Why can't they do that for same as PWD? Same as RGI housing. I talked to, just to put onto our podcast here before we end the show. So there was a member of the opposition that Sonia and I were able to talk to yesterday very briefly. I won't say the name of the member. However, that member does want to come onto our show, so I gave one of the cards to her. So
Oh, you have to tell me who it is later.
yeah. Sonia, who is it?
After.
Do you want me to say it after?
Yeah, just say it after. Keep
I'll say.
keep the surprise for everybody else.
Yeah, I'll keep it for a surprise. However, the person was quite surprised. She knows who we are. We had a meeting with her before too. She was one of the people that we had a meeting with. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we were talking about. She says, "Well, didn't they?" She said she thought about us when she said the minister mentioned about spousal cap. She said, you guys were advocating a lot about that, about making changes. I go, yeah, but they screwed it up though. It's just, yeah. I go, right. So it's like they gave a press announcement. I said, well, look what we did.
Yeah.
I said, but then it's like, well, then we found out, well, wait a minute, that's not entirely what they did, right? It's like, I said, the shelter rate is already bad enough already. Like I just finished saying earlier in our podcast, $500 shelter.
Yeah.
Two people together is $695. So the government says
That's
we're
weird math, Brent. That's weird math.
Yeah. Well, because the government says we're going to treat each individual person as an individual PWD, like
if you're
one
more
recipient.
person, you
right?
get less money.
Yeah.
One more person equals less money.
Rather than two individual people, we're going to still leave it with $695 total.
Yeah.
Well, you can't rent anywhere at $500, let alone like at $1,000, like $500, let alone $695. You know what I mean? So, I said to the minister, that doesn't benefit us. It doesn't benefit us.
No.
I said, there was no rate increase. She goes, I know. I said, meanwhile, the cost of living is going up. And then Sonia says, we keep getting a rent increase every year. It's going to get to a point where we can't keep living where we are in market rent. She goes, right, yeah, you guys pay the market rent. Yeah, I go, right, because we're not eligible for RAP, rental assistance program.
Yeah.
We're not eligible for SAFERS, which is the seniors program equivalent to RAP. I mean, same thing. We're not eligible for CLBC, which they get the same thing, and they get to live in the same type of housing sector that we live in. Like I know a huge handful of people who live in one of the sister buildings that we rent from, and they get to live in the same sector of housing, but they get to pay 30% of their income. But because we don't have part of that program where we're eligible in.
Yeah.
Even though they still get the shelter portion on their check, but it's exempt. It's not part of the criteria. It's all based on the total check, right? So they still get to keep their shelter, but it's based on 30% of their total check. But in
I always
PWD,
think of that line from Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
Yeah. So I mentioned to the minister. So I mentioned to the minister that she got it right away. She goes, "Oh, because you guys aren't eligible under the program, they treat that shelter as a bridge." I go, "Yeah. But if we were eligible for that program, that $500 shelter I said $375 or $500.
That's why they should just do away with the whole shelter thing. It's just,
And I said to her, I said, there are some advocates that are pushing back saying, oh, well, just get rid of it. I said, it could be good. But I said, there's also, the government could say, well, they might throw a penny to raising the rates. Say, well, we raised the rates.
Yeah.
They
did. Technically, they did raise it by 1 cent every year.
I know, you see.
So technically, it is raising it by 1 cent. Yeah. So yeah.
I said, but if they tied it to inflation, but still, it benefits. But not raising rates, difficult decisions. So stay tuned on our next podcast. This has been an extended, longer show today, everybody. Lots
and
to
it's
dive
my
into.
fault.
It's okay.
It's my fault because I took people to church today. I took people to church today, so it's my fault. I take ownership.
And today's Friday the 13th, not Sunday.
And again, we have to say there's a doomsday plane flying over California as we speak.
Yeah. We have to just really take care of one another, take care of our citizens, and just really enjoy life. Government, like you can revise budgets. You can do revisions. It's not difficult to do that. I mean, if you need help, talk to your advocacies organizations that advocate and tell you what they're hearing. They're telling you to raise the rates. They're telling you to tie it to inflation. You didn't even listen to them. I mean, so if you're not going to listen to the disability organizations, then why are you even paying them to tell them?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I don't understand that. That's the part I really don't get it. Is that if you're not even going to listen to them and you're not going to listen to self advocates, why then what's the point having government if you're not going to listen to the people who you're supposed to represent?
They're already giving away their democracy and their sovereignty, Brent. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Let's close the podcast on that, because I actually didn't define what sovereignty is, and maybe we should end the podcast on a definition of what sovereignty is. Sovereignty is the supreme, absolute, and independent authority of a state or governing body to hold control of its own territory, people, and laws. That is what sovereignty is, right, Brent? And to go back to the religion part of things, we talk about the sovereignty of God too, that God is not accountable to anybody, because God is a supreme, absolute power. That God doesn't have to answer to anybody, and that's the point of government too. Is as soon as you have government that is compromised, that all of a sudden has to answer to another smaller body like a First Nation,
right?
Then where's the democracy? All of a sudden the democracy is gone, and the sovereignty of the country is gone. You might as well not even have the country anymore. You might as well not even have a government anymore, because you've compromised it all, right?
Well, it's like ramming through a bill and not having to listen to nobody else. I mean, FOI. I'm gonna do a show about FOI stuff one day too. We'll dive into FOIs and the repercussions on stories.
Get Rob to talk about it.
Oh, Rob, yeah, Rob would be a good one to talk about FOIs and yeah. We'll have to revisit that the repercussions.
Rob Shaw. I was thinking,
No.
Who's Rob?
Rob Buttrell.
Oh, Rob
Buttrell.
I saw you said Rob Buttrell. Oh, well, both of them would be good to talk about that.
Well, I have to say, I actually tweeted back at Rob too, because I was disappointed at him too, because he was also one of the ones that was standing up in the legislature just recently, calling everybody a racist as well. You know, and that's why this whole podcast. That's why I'm so amped up today, Brent. Is because like everybody's so quick to say, well, you're a racist, you know, and let's stop doing that. I am a white man who knows that I should not stand up and point fingers and say you're a racist, because I don't know the first thing about being Indigenous. So I'm smart enough to sit down and shut up and leave the storytelling to somebody like líya Warbus or somebody like that, right?
Yeah, that's like us. Like we have some, and I've made a very vocal. Sonia's made a very vocal. We have nasty neighbors who live above us. We call them nasty neighbors, right? I could say a lot of things. How we perceive the treatment, on how they making our lives a living hell. If I were to come out and say, they should go back to their own country. Oh, they don't belong here. You know what I mean? I would be racist, right?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but I would say they're just people. I've talked to them. I've talked to them in the hallway. I've let them know that what they're doing is not right, and what they're doing, they need to stop.
Yeah. They
need to follow policies within the building under the Residential Tenancy Act, and then I start giving them the spiel of, you're breaching the Tenancy Act. As tenants, I do have the right to take you to arbitration if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to rock the boat. Because why? Number one, the government is not listening to me or other disability organizations about raising our rates, because if I rock the boat, guess what? The management has already told us, plain and simple, if you don't like it, Brent and Sonia, move to the top unit of a building where you live now, or one of our other buildings. Put up it. And I said, and then she said, literally, if you don't like it. So I joked around. I said, in other words, put up with it or shut up.
Put up or shut
Yeah.
up.
She said that. She goes, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, wow. Okay. So I understand. I mean, we said it on a personal level, business level. It's all about making money. So we don't want to rock the boat and basically start causing friction. But I let our neighbors understand that it's not okay. And in their culture, they tend to be very active. I have nothing against them personally. I just find it very personal that it's causing us a lot of sleepless nights. I'm dealing with enough stress and anxiety as it is right now and not eating properly and whatever, but it is what it is. We'll work with it, everybody.
Like I said, I mean, the role of government in our legislature is to act and behave like government, and not be pointing fingers and saying you're a racist, and on this side of the house we hold the righteous staff of truth, on all this BS. It's know. Let's stop that because it's not helpful. It's not helpful, Brent.
I try to make people feel like equality, right? Of not like pointing fingers at it's like, I mean, we've got a whole bunch of nationalities in my building here, and they're all nice people. They're all like great people. Do I agree upon certain things? No, there's things. I mean, and I think as advocates too, there's things that people will agree as advocacy wise. No, you need to advocate this way. No, you need to advocate.
Think about think of how many advocates there are, and I don't think any advocates, almost no advocates, agree with one another.
Oh no, exactly.
Like we all disagree. It's so stupid. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. But at the end of the day, like I said to the minister yesterday, I said at the end of the day, we all come to the same conclusion of we want the same result at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I said that's what it is. I said, but we need to have a fundamental standard that needs to be at. And I said, if we can't get to that, there's a problem. So with that being said, long podcast today. Thank you, everybody.
Well, we're over 2 hours now, Brent. Guess what? It's the 20th. It's the 20th episode today. It might be the last episode because I took everybody to church today, so everyone's gonna get offended. So I won't. On the next podcast, there'll be no church sermon on the next podcast.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
I just like I said,
it was today.
I watched the legislature. Like I said, I think before we rolled our press record on today's show, we always talk a little bit before the show. And what did I say, Brent? I told you I was watching the legislature live the other day, and I just felt like I just wanted to scream at the sky, Brent. I wanted to scream at the sky. It's like you just want to rail against the sky.
Well, especially when I'm watching.
What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people?
Well, especially when we're watching it live, and then they go to pass a motion, and then the same person
and then they derail the motion. It's like why?
And then they call division on their own same motion, which nobody even had a chance to vote on it.
It's just a whole dog and pony show, right? And
sitting there as an advocate. We were introduced in the legislature as our advocacy wise, and and that's great. We like that. That's fine. And the House welcomed us. They all clapped. They all clapped when we stood up. And that's what you do. You stand up and
I didn't. I was looking for. I went back to the beginning. I was waiting.
Oh, you'll find it.
I missed it.
You'll have to listen again. Miss Mel.
Why I missed it, but.
She introduced us, but when the member called division on it, we have to now sit there. We have to sit there and wait. It's almost like recess time. You have to sit there, and now you have to wait because one person calls it. I mean, it's a waste of time. They got to stop doing that. They got to stop calling division on their own motion because as a visitor to the legislature, I'm there to visit, to be educated, and to be heard, so that we show our presence there. And I think it really gets them uptight when we show up. It's like, oh boy, it's like, oh, they're here. Yeah, it's like, we're here, but we're learning.
What would happen if I showed up, Brent?
Actually,
what would happen if I showed up?
We talked about that actually just before I signed on. Sonia says it'd be nice to get Neil here one day. Yeah, to come in. Yeah, we just roll in there.
I wonder
Oh
if we
yeah.
would all like start to leave.
Oh, they'd be like, they'd be like, oh shit, Neil's here, Brent's here, Sonia's here.
Shit's gonna hit the fan now. Shit's gonna hit the fan now.
Oh, Jeff's here too. Oh, the minister. We raised the rates 5 times.
Yeah.
I'd be like
1
yelling out.
cent.
Oh,
1 cent. 6 years in a row for 1 cent.
8 cents.
8 cents total.
But before, 20 to, yeah, you're right though, 2020 to 2026, 8 cent increase.
8 cents total.
Before then, in 2017, $100, 2019, 50.
Yeah.
So $150.
Yeah.
But 2018, nope, that was the choice of a bus pass or cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our long podcast.
I hope you enjoyed our 2 podcasts today.
2 podcasts all in one. You got 2 podcasts for the price of 1.
People are going to be like, how am I going to watch all of this? This is too much.
Like, no wonder.
Just
no
be
wonder
quiet.
I walked away from the Twitter space.
Sit down and be quiet. Sit down and be quiet.
Thank God Brent Neil's not doing 8 hours for a Twitter space anymore. Oh.
That's why the thumbnail said, "Don't watch this. It's too long. Don't watch
too long.
this. It's too long. Don't watch it."
You can have having your dinner at the same time. You could probably even do your dishes. You could do all your housework, and they'd still be the podcast would still be going. It's like the never-ending story.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Have a good weekend, and happy. I guess. The legislature's out for 2 weeks, so. But we'll be back. We'll be back on our next podcast. So join us next week.
Yeah.
Stay tuned and have a good weekend.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.